Have you ever wondered what would happen if you could download 75% of a language directly into your brain? I'm talking about the real method that I used to get 3/4 of Mandarin Chinese into my brain in just 67 days, without a professional tutor, some sort of expensive software, or without even leaving my apartment. Sound impossible? Now, I thought so too until I discovered what language experts have known for years, but seems to never be discussed in mainstream language learning circles. Let me take you back to where it all started. 3.5 years ago, I was sitting in my apartment in downtown Toronto. It was just around midnight. I remember because the sounds of traffic were slowly fading as the city went to sleep. I, however, was wide awake. I was surrounded by many little neat stacks of Japanese flashcards, colors in one pile, animals in the other, kitchen utensils in a third. You know the drill. My desk lamp cast a yellow glow across everything as I sat there bewildered and confused, and I just thought to myself, there has to be a better way. At this rate, I'll be fluent sometime around my retirement. The problem with learning this way was that we waste so much time trying to study and memorize words that we will almost never use. I was spending hours memorizing words like hippopotamus in Japanese when I didn't even know how to ask where the bathroom was. It's like trying to learn how to drive a car by memorizing the names for every part of the car under the hood before even touching a steering wheel. One night after another frustrating study session, I stumbled across a research paper while desperately Googling how to learn a language fast at 1 a.m. My eyes were burning with screen fatigue, but what I read jolted me awake. According to linguistic research that dates back to the 1930s with something called Zipf's law, the most frequent 1,000 words in any language make up for 75 to 80% of that language's spoken form by volume. I nearly fell out of my chair. Now this concept has been enshrined into a tool, and that tool is called the Frequency Dictionary. And as you wouldn't expect, the Frequency Dictionary has been the linguist's secret weapon for years. Now, later on, when I decided to learn Mandarin Chinese, I applied this tool, the Frequency Dictionary, and that's how I was able to learn 75% of the language by volume in just 67 days. What about the other 25%? Well, this 25% is largely made up of the following: grammar structures and particles, again, which you will encounter through lots of exposure, specialized vocabulary for specific contexts or specific professions, descriptive language, and less common synonyms. Think about English for a second. Words like the, be, to, of, and, in, that appear constantly, while words like dishwasher or vibrate, well, when's the last time you used those in conversation? The beauty of frequency dictionaries is that you're front-loading your effort on words that will give you the most bang for your buck. You are now working smarter, not harder. So how do you actually get these magical 1,000 words? Well, you have a few options. But first, a quick disclaimer. Some language purists believe that you should only encounter these 1,000 words organically and naturally through your immersion. And yes, it's true that eventually you will, but I'm guessing that you would rather get results sooner than eventually, right? Okay, so back to your options. Option 1. ChatGPT. Simply ask Chat to generate 1,000 most common words in your target language. Now, this is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it is free and it is quick. Option 2. Google. Now, for anybody who remembers this old relic of a search engine, Google, just kidding, you are able to search on Google for 1,000 most common words in your target language as well. And you will find plenty of really good lists. Option 3. Buy an actual frequency dictionary. These books are tools specifically designed with the whole frequency concept in mind and often contain example sentences that can help you out. Option 4. Find a pre-made frequency flashcard deck. Now, I'm gonna get back to this super powerful shortcut in just a second. Now, when it came to studying Mandarin, personally, I went with options 2 and 4. I found a digital frequency list on Google and paired it with a pre-made flashcard deck that saved me hours of wasted time. The game plan: 65 days to 75%. Now here's exactly how I did it. I can still remember day 1 of this experiment. It was a weekday morning in January. It was a Monday. Or Tuesday. Might have been Thursday, actually. The details get kind of fuzzy. But what I can remember is I had just finished my room temperature glass of water, just the way I liked it, because back in those days, I still had the discipline to resist using caffeine like it was oxygen. I had my laptop open on the kitchen table. The blue light was illuminating my sleep-deprived face, and I had my newly created digital flashcards ready to go. Now, I did the math. 1,000 words divided by 15 words a day equals 66 point some odd days. Just under 67 days to know 75% of a language by volume. Now, it did seem too good to be true, but I was willing to try anything at this point. But I wasn't using just any old flashcards. I was using a spaced repetition system called Anki. Here's how my days looked. Day 1, I started with 15 new flashcards. Anki was showing me a simplified Chinese character along with pinyin on one side of the card and an image or an audio clip paired with the English translation on the back of the Anki flashcard. By the way, using your mother tongue on the other side of the flashcard is no longer something that I think is optimal, but I can explain that strategy in another video if you're interested. Just let me know in the comments. I remember struggling profusely with the tones of Mandarin, especially mixing up the third and the fourth tone. It took me probably 45 minutes to an hour to get through all 15 flashcards. But of course, as this was my first time grappling with Mandarin Chinese, that is to be expected. Day 7. A week in, and I was happy to report I was still consistent with my 15 new cards a day. But now I was also reviewing the 50 review cards that I had to do because that's what the spaced repetition system told me I had to do. As far as my study time, still about 1 hour or so as I was getting more and more familiar with past cards, thank you Anki, and I was also studying new cards each day. Day 25. Nearly a month in, and something incredible started happening. I turned on a Chinese YouTube video, as I had been every single day of this journey because immersion is a critical part of studying in my opinion. And suddenly, I was catching words here and there. Not full sentences, but individual words. It was like little islands of understanding in a sea of noise. Day 45. I was deep into the routine now. Wake up, super exciting glass of water, Anki. My review sessions were still about 45 minutes to an hour every single day, but I was recognizing more and more words in Chinese whenever I was listening to Chinese content. I actually remember walking past a Chinese restaurant and picking out words that were coming out from inside the restaurant. Day 67. The final day. I studied my 1000th card from Anki. I celebrated with a tall glass of super exciting water, feeling amazing, feeling like I had just unlocked some sort of language learning cheat code. Now, remember option 4 that I promised to get back to? Here's that insider hack that can honestly save you so much preparation time. You can actually search right from within Anki's database for pre-made frequency decks. Thankfully, other language learners have already done so much heavy lifting for us, and you can find a frequency dictionary deck in almost any language. I found one for Japanese that had actual audio for every single card. Another that I used for French for a little bit had example sentences. Now, the alternative to this is making the cards yourself, which I have also done. And truthfully, there is an advantage to this approach too, because the act of creating the card itself is a form of study. Because think about it, you're engaging with the material in a meaningful way before you even begin your reviewing. Now, speaking to you as a much more experienced language learner than I once was, I can tell you this. I exclusively make my own Anki deck flashcards, and the reason why is because I've stumbled across what I feel is the most optimal and efficient way for both card creation and card review. And if you happen to be interested in that method, then check the link in the description. Let me be clear about something. Knowing 1000 words in your target language does not mean you can suddenly understand 75% of any conversation in your target language. Unfortunately, language learning doesn't quite work so linearly. What it does mean though is that a significant portion of the language is now familiar to you. When you immerse in your target language content, which again is a crucial part of my learning method at least, your brain now has hundreds, actually 1,000 anchor points to latch onto. It's honestly like having landmarks in a foreign city. You might not know all of the small streets, but you know one point to another point, and you can slowly navigate these points and get more and more familiar with the map. And over time, you'll begin to fill in the gaps. So ask yourself, would you rather spend the next year learning random vocabulary from textbooks, or have 75% of a language available to you in a couple of months? But just remember, first thing is ditch all the categories and just embrace frequency. 15 new words a day keeps the confusion away. Stick with it, even when it seems like all those new words or characters are evil little things plotting against you. And the last thing, and maybe most importantly, drink lots of water. Because nothing says successful language learner like being aggressively hydrated doing flashcards at 5 in the morning. Oh, one last thing. After you finish your 67-day sprint, you're probably gonna feel like you wanna keep learning, but you might want a bit of a lazier path while continuing your progress towards fluency. If that sounds like you and that's something you want, then check out this lazy method that I used to learn languages faster than I ever thought possible. See you in the next one.